The Sandy and Toddcast is a Mindgarden Media podcast in association with
Screw You, Todd
Productions.
Hey guys, it's me, Sandy.
And this is Dave, better known as #Poor Dave.
We don't always call you that. Anyway, in case you didn't know, Dave and I are part of a great new show called Empire Spirits.
It's where we hunt lots of ghosts in some of the most well-known bars and restaurants in central New York, along with a great cast
of characters.
Yep, Bill Vinci, Michelle Classic, Ryan Vinci, Lafayette Cunningham, and Heather Elias.
You'll be able to see each episode starting this fall on Facebook and YouTube.
Just like our Facebook page, Empire Spirits CNY, to keep up to date on the latest.
But we can't leave you without thanking our sponsors because, well, without them, it just wouldn't be happening.
So a big thanks to the Stife on Varick Street in Utica, Bill Vinci and the Empire Plate, Utica Coffee Roasting Company, and the Sandy and Toddcast.
We'd also like to thank Northeastern Roofing and Construction, northeasternroofs.com, Labella Flowers, that's labellaflowers.com, and Independent Artistry by Dawn Marie, Independent Artistry by DMF.com.
And we can't forget licensed real estate person Paul F. Sacco, 315-525-1377, with Howard Hanna Real Estate Services, or Joshua A. Amodio with Priceless Inspections, Central New York's top choice home inspector since 2012, 315-525-8725.
Now, back to the show.
It's been a while since we've done something like this.
It's been a long while. You couldn't even remember how to start it at first, but you got it.
Not only that, but you can remember where you put your ring light and
oh my gosh,
spotlights
I
and
know.
all that kind of stuff.
I kind of miss the live cast. We may have to do one or two here and there over the winter.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't like to be camera ready. You know,
it's kind of hard sometimes.
Absolutely.
So, big episode today. Big episode.
Here's the thing. Like, this is the truth, and I want to get this out of the way because I don't want to do it in front of him because that'd be like fangirling too much. But Daryl Marston's on the program today and been an investigator for a long time. He's just written a new book, which we're going to talk about. But I became aware of him and the way he investigates through the TV show Ghost Hunters. Mm-hmm. And I've said this on our podcast many times, but Ghost Hunters as a series, as a franchise, was one of the reasons why I went, oh my gosh, people actually do this, right? Yeah. It was always an interest of mine, but I didn't realize people were out there investigating and all that. So it was very mind-opening to me. And then it went away for a while, came back on A&E with Grant Wilson and a whole new team. And it was kind of, it was life-changing for me in that I found that group of investigators to be more like me in the way they investigate. Yep. And the respect they showed the locations and the people and the spirits and energies than I'd ever seen before.
I agree. Totally agree.
It was it was my favorite series during that time.
That season brought a whole new perspective to paranormal investigating for me personally. I kind of looked at things a little bit differently once I saw how they all interacted with each other and the way that they handled themselves during investigations. I've always loved every season of Ghost Hunters, but for some reason that season really resonated with me. And just like we talk about Kindred Spirits as a show that's formed our investigation, our ways of investigating, so did this season. So pretty excited to have him here. He's such a nice guy and really loves to share stories and talk about everything that happened. So I think this is going to be a really cool episode.
Joining us now, again, former member of the Ghost Hunter show, author, paranormal investigator, and brother beard wearer, Daryl Marston is on with us today. Daryl, thanks for being on the show.
Howdy. Oh,
you're not hearing us. Oh, that's weird.
Hang on a second. Muted?
That's what happens when you do stuff like this sometimes. It's all right.
So we're going to talk today about, while we wait for Daryl to come back, we're going to talk today about how he got started, some of his experiences, and then also we're going to talk about the new book that he has coming out that he wrote about the House of Wills in Cleveland, Ohio.
Now, here's the thing I can't remember. Did we discuss House of Wills before we were thinking about going to Cleveland, or did we discuss it because we were thinking about going to Cleveland and then it just came up again?
I honestly can't remember for sure, but I will tell you, is he joining us?
I think what happened.
I lost audio there for a minute.
Wow, that was weird. So we were just talking about your new book coming out, but we'll get into all of that in just a second. But welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm getting ready to lose my camera.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Oh,
great.
Hopefully
we got it. There we go. We got it.
So I have to ask you, did you hear anything prior to us?
I did not.
Oh, geez.
I was sitting backstage, and I usually could hear these things, and I didn't hear any of it now.
Oh, Todd was just fangirling over you.
Really
Don't worry.
So let me just kind of fill him in on this because so for the show Ghost Hunters was something that was very mind-blowing to me when it first came out, etc. Because while I had interest in paranormal, I didn't realize people were going out and investigating. So it was like, wow, people actually do this. So of course I became a fan of the show. I mentioned that the show went away for a while and it was brought back with Grant Wilson and a new team on A&E. And what I was saying with Sandy, and something that we both agree on, was that time that you were on with that cast, with those members of the crew, again, was a mind-opening experience, because not only did you bring new equipment to light and new thought processes on investigating, but the type of respect that you guys showed the locations and the humans and the entity, that was something we had not really seen before. I mean, it wasn't like the other ghost hunting teams were going out and being rude. I'm not talking about Ghost Adventures, of course, but but it was really nice to see you guys say, hey, we really want to help the situation on both sides, living and spirits entities, whatever. It was just I thought it was just a great piece of history for ghost hunters.
Well, yeah, I really appreciate that. And what you had was, you can thank production for that and post, because they really did their due diligence in picking a team and putting it together, because none of us knew each other.
Right.
We were all from different parts of the world, the country. The only two that really knew each other were Brian and Rochelle, who were from the same area, and they were on the same team. But the rest of us, we had no clue we even existed, I don't think. And then they brought us all together. I mean, and they really, kind of picked it apart and found the people they wanted to lead the show, to bring something different to it. And none of us, were from the old show except for Grant. Kristen has spent one season on the old show.
Right.
That's it. And so it was pretty cool to be a part of something groundbreaking, something different, especially on such a big network like A&E.
Sure.
Put a lot behind us, and really they rolled out the red carpet for us, and it's an amazing experience.
Were you surprised when they came to you with this offer? I guess was it something? And did you say, "What the hell? Am I really going to do this?"
Yeah, what it was I had a podcast. I was doing podcasting for 5 years almost, and my podcast got pretty popular, and that's where they found me. If you go back and watch my old shows, I used to destroy these paranormal shows. Like, I would just tear them apart.
Right.
And one of the things I said was, I'll never be on one of these shows. I'll never do it. And next thing you know, I'm getting a phone call like I'll never forget. I was sitting in my kitchen where I'm at right now, playing Nerf gun war with my son at the time, and I get this phone call on my phone from Burbank, California. I'm like, I don't know anybody in Burbank. And I was like, so I didn't answer it. And it went to voicemail, of course. And it was a producer. But see, I didn't know it was Ghost Hunters at the time. They just said a paranormal show. And it's like, hey, we want to, we want to interview you for a paranormal show. I'm like, all right, whatever. So next thing, fast forward, doing like 10, 20 interviews on Zoom or Skype at the time. And next thing I know, I'm getting flown out to LA, and that's where I find out it's Ghost Hunters. Yeah.
Let's talk about your background in investigating. When did you start investigating, and what brought you to paranormal investigations?
Complete accident. I started in 2005, roughly. What would happen was I got invited to a paranormal event, a paranormal type Halloween event in October of 2005, and it was a place called Fort Delaware, and in my home state. And so I went with my mother. She asked me to go with her. I didn't know what a ghost hunter was. I didn't know what a paranormal investigator was. I was always interested in the paranormal, but I never thought this would lead me to where I'm at. And I went, in my first time ever on this paranormal investigation of like 5 people at Fort Delaware. There was 150 some people there, but only 5 people went on the paranormal tour. Everyone else went on the historical tour. Because you got to remember, back then, 2005 doesn't seem that long ago, but it was. Paranormal was still taboo back then.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's not mainstream like it is now. But it's just, you turn on it, any channel at any time of the day, you're going to find something paranormal on, movies and TV. It's just like watching, it's almost like pro wrestling. It's on every channel.
Yep.
And it was taboo back then. And so I didn't know what it really was. I didn't know that people actually did this, just like you were saying. And I went and I witnessed a half-body apparition, my first time ever investigation. I knew that night when I saw this, and I didn't tell anybody I saw it. I was the only one who actually saw it because everyone else had their backs turned to it out of the 4 or 5 people that were in our group, including the investigator. And I saw this man from the shoulders up. He was in a hallway standing there maybe 15, 20 feet away from us. And he was grayish in color. He had shoulder length, scraggly hair, and a very disheveled, dirty beard. And the background of Fort Delaware was a prison camp for the Confederate soldiers from the Battle of Gettysburg. So that's where they kept them. And over 6,000 men died there in a 3 or 4 year period from starvation, disease. There's even rumors of cannibalism. I don't know if that's true or not. I saw that night, and I knew when I left there, somehow, some way, I wanted to recreate it. It piqued my interest. I was hooked, and it just kind of followed from there. And then a couple years later, I started dating my wife now. And she got into it. So we just started, running around and investigating places like Gettysburg, places here on the East Coast, of course. And it grew. It grew from there to, putting a team together eventually, then doing my own podcasting, when podcasting wasn't really a thing in 2012, 2013, it was kind of in its infant stages. And it kind of grew from there, and that's where they found me. Yeah.
I think there's people that have to be listening, because even I think, so this guy goes out on his first investigation, and he sees something the very first time. I think I was investigating for years before something actually happened. And then once that happened, then more stuff happened. But it was like I needed to have my eyes open before more stuff would actually interact or be shown.
Right. That's how it is for a lot of people. I was just in the right place at the right time. And I wrote about it in my book, about Fort Delaware being, that was basically, that's the start of my voyage right there. And it just grew. And I was just lucky. Now, don't get me wrong. I supposedly I grew up in a haunted house, but I don't remember it because I was 6 years old when we moved out.
Right.
I was told, by my parents and my grandparents of all the things that would happen in that house. It was an old farmhouse we lived in Lower Delaware, and but I don't remember any of it. I remember being there, but I don't remember the paranormal stuff. But that was my first big experience.
What is it about the paranormal do you think, Daryl, that just fascinates so many people? Is it just the unknown? Is it the excitement? What really do you think drives people? I mean, you're right. There are so many paranormal shows on there now on TV, some good, some bad. There's a lot on Amazon Prime. There's, you could go on YouTube and see a million of them. Everybody loves them.
Right.
People can't get enough. What do you think it is about it?
I think it's the unknown. I think some of it. Here's how I kind of separate paranormal in two different kind of like chapters or factions. You got your ghost hunters who want to go out and have fun on the weekend, once, twice, a month or a year or whatever. They go to an investigation, or especially around Halloween, they love the fall activities and the whole ghost hunting thing.
Right.
And then you have your hardcore paranormal investigators who are maybe that 15 to 20% who actually go out and try to debunk and try to figure out the paranormal field and
right.
try to take it from a pseudoscience to a science at some point, someday, hopefully. So I think what it is mostly, especially for the TV side of it and YouTube and social media, is the macabre part of it, the scare factor, if you watch the YouTube stuff, I mean, it's all about being scared, jump scares, and clickbait and stuff like that to get to draw a person in, where an actual paranormal investigator could take years on one investigation to actually figure out a paranormal event. That's what I think really draws people, like the masses, is that macabre part, that 80% that just love the jump scare and be scared, who are not really serious about it, which is great. I'm all for both sides. I know how to juggle both sides.
That's right. I agree.
I started off in the I want to get scared, I want to see a ghost, thought process. And now in my life, I'm more about, there's stories to be told. These people lived a life, and they may have just been a housewife or a small family or whatever, but their stories apparently still need to be told or whatever. So it's become a little bit more personal to me. I'm not necessarily out to prove anything, but I think, again, I'm searching for the stories that need to be told. And I think Sandy's kind of gone in that direction too.
Yeah, I'm an empath. I'm a medium. I'm also a seasoned investigator, and
married to Dave.
Poor Dave. Poor Dave puts up with a lot. But I think at this point, my belief, my mission is to tell the story. It's to learn as much as I can. It's to help in any way that I can. It's to really get an understanding of what I'm experiencing, regardless, science included, but just the overall. I like to look at the big picture of everything and tell the story. So what was your experience like for your season on Ghost Hunters? Did you learn new perspectives? What was your take on doing that season?
The seasons.
I'm sorry. Seasons.
It is really eye-opening the first time you investigate it on a TV show, because it's a lot of hurry up and wait, because there's a lot of production side to it, of course. And the times when you have to investigate, a light night for us would be 12 hours.
Yeah.
Our usual night, we're around 14 to 15 hours. Just getting to just waiting around for our time to investigate, or a lot of times you would have times where you'd be doing interviews and things of that nature in between for the show. But it was a lot of hurry up and wait, which I was never used to, because I was always the guy who went in, we set up, and we started investigating. Right. So you had to get used to that. That was the first thing. You had to get used to all the interviews and redoing interviews, and there'd be times when you're away from your family for 3 weeks at a time. Sometimes, you'd be out, investigating, flying to Texas. So you're bouncing around, a lot of travel, a lot of driving, a lot of flying. So it's just trying to find time to work life now.
Sure.
You're away from your family.
Now, one question I have, and a lot of people everything gets condensed down into an hour show, which is really about 40 minutes. But how long would it typically take you from start to finish to film one investigation, one episode?
Well, typically we were on location for 5 to 6 days.
Wow.
And that's typical. Then there was times we were investigating.
Wow.
Like Alaska, Clifton, Arizona. There was quite a few that we were there for, 2 weeks at a time. So much for us to investigate there that we'd have to be there.
I want to talk a little bit about techniques and things of that nature. Again, we all probably started off with some sort of MP3 recorder and a flashlight or whatever. But technology has evolved to a certain extent. We've got some new things coming out all the time. If you're heading out to an investigation and you can only grab a couple of things, but you want to grab the things that you think are the best devices to have with you, Daryl, what do you take along with you?
These days, the biggest tools I take besides myself would be, I'm a big fan of the body cams. And for good reason, because we used them on the show for quite a bit. But there was the one piece of footage that I captured in Alaska of the full body apparition. You actually caught it twice on my body cam, which if I didn't have that body cam, it would just been hearsay. It had been a
right.
experience of my own. And the good thing it backed it up was when I captured that on my body cam, not just myself, but Mustafa was with me, Amarov, and a producer and a audio person who was 2 floors below us actually heard this apparition run down the hallway.
Wow.
They all heard it, but I actually saw it with my own eyes. That's a big thing for me. And the next thing would be the EDI Plus, which is basically an all-in-one tool. It instead of having 5 or 6 pieces of paranormal equipment like you would have to have back 15, 20 years ago, the EDI is basically all-in-one. It's a small box that measures humidity, pressure, EMF, vibration. It does temperature increase and decrease, and it also has a memory card that will record all that. So if you're actually hearing things or seeing things, you can actually take that out at the same time and kind of correlate with it, put it on your laptop and see, kind of match up the timestamp, which is really nice.
Your show is the one that basically made me realize that piece of equipment was out there. And I think as soon as we saw it on that show, I went out and got one. I think, Sandy, did you end up getting one?
I did. Yeah. I did. I have to agree. I love the all-in-one tools. They're so much easier, not just for investigation, but for just being able to just cut down on the amount of equipment that you're dragging around with you. And to have something like that that's all in one, I think is just fantastic. I remember when the Melmeter came out with the REM pod on top of it, I was beside myself because now I didn't have to have, and so it's the little things in life, but those are great, great tools that I think new things are coming out all the time. Poor Dave, # more Dave again. I'm always buying something new and playing with something. And Dave Giuliano, who owns a ghost hunting store, probably one of his biggest customers, and he put out the Tempest, which is kind of the newfangled Ovilus. Mm-hmm. And we use it on every investigation. I just absolutely love it. So if he could just put the REM pod in there and then I'd be really thrilled, and not so much Dave. So so I have to agree with you. I love that type of equipment, definitely. And then you can't go wrong with the good old fashioned K2 meter. My K2 meter is with me all the time. I use it for just about everything paranormal. And, it just depends, I guess, on your likes and your dislikes.
Absolutely. It's all what works for you. It's all about, how much you want to break something down. I remember going back, 10 years ago, setting up, for 2 hours straight, setting up, all kinds of cameras everywhere, have to run cords and all that. And by the time you got done, you're you're cooked. You don't want to investigate, but it's so much easier these days. And yeah, it's kind of funny. I've had locations where I showed up, because I do a lot of events, public events, and I'll show up and people are like, oh, you need help getting your stuff. And it's all in my backpack.
Exactly.
They're like, it's here.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us for part 1 of our 2-part episode with the amazing Daryl Marston from Ghost Hunters. Make sure to join us next week as we wrap up season 9 with part 2 of this really cool interview. We'll talk about his new book, The Horrors of the House of Wills. Bye.